how to handle howitzers. Now I know a lot of people struggle against howitzers and they don't really know how to combat them. Well, there's two or three different ways. So I'll try and go through all of the different ways that you can combat them. The most obvious way is taking drones. So I think a howitzer will be destroyed off 4 drones, so 10 cash each. So that costs 40 cash to destroy a howitzer. But there's a couple of drawbacks with using drones. One is there's a minute and 30 timer on them, so you can't just use them immediately. And the other is they can hit obstacles. So on some missions, the howitzers are positioned where you can't hit them with drones, or you can hit them, but they're very hard to aim, and they will hit a few obstacles. So this isn't the best usage, but it's one of the best ways to combat howitzers. The better one of combating howitzers is using the IC-7 Bulwark missile. It's a guaranteed hit, can't hit obstacles, but they're incredibly rare, so you don't really want to be wasting them on missions that aren't particularly difficult. You want to really save your IC-7s for the final few missions of the game. So I recommend taking in drones for beating howitzer missions. But if you just so happen to not have any drones, either you've used them all in previous missions or you've just been unlucky and you didn't get any as rewards, well, there is one other way that you can quite easily combat howitzers, and this is the one that I wanted to bring up because it's very easy to miss. It's not pointed out to you anywhere, so you have to work it out for yourself, and that is vehicles, well, not necessarily vehicles, but units of 1 don't get targeted by the howitzer. It just doesn't shoot. The howitzer's designed to attack groups of units. So if there's only 1 unit on the field, the howitzer just simply doesn't shoot at all. So you can just bring 1 unit onto the field, and then your problem of the howitzer is now solved. It doesn't do anything. As soon as you deploy other things, it'll start shooting because it's targeting a clump. But if you've only got 1 thing on the field, it just won't do anything. So if you can't take in drones, try and take in vehicles, with one exception. I will tell you the exception so you don't ruin one of your runs. Don't take in the LRV. The LRV spawns units, and as soon as it spawns its units, the howitzer is going to target it. It's going to splat all of your men, it's going to hit your vehicle, and your vehicle can only take 2 hits before it dies. So the next time it spawns any units, or even if just a couple of men shoot at it a couple of times, your vehicle's dead. It's done nothing. So the worst thing that you can bring on a howitzer mission is the LRV. So I'll warn you in advance, just don't bring it. Okay, so vehicles, drones, or pumas and tanks, I should say. Pumas, tanks, and drones. That's how you combat howitzers. Now, if you haven't got any of them 3, you might think you're a bit stuck, but you can still get around it. It's just not very easy. So say for example, you can deploy 1 thing, well, 2 things you actually need. It would be 1 thing if I had upgraded this, so I'll just upgrade ready to demonstrate again. Okay, you deploy one thing, the howitzer shoots at it, well, 2 units together, then you deploy everything else. Now the howitzer, now you've got a bit of time between the howitzer's shots for these units to then be able to do some work before it shoots again. So during this time, while things die, you can keep spawning units gradually, bit by bit, so they spread out a little bit. Try not to spawn them too close together. And then as they're spawning, the howitzer's going to shoot again eventually. It's going to wipe some of your men out, but because you've been spawning everything a little bit further apart, it's not going to do quite so much damage. So although this is not exactly the best tactic, it's your fallback plan if you haven't got drones, pumas or tanks. Another thing is, you can take these tow turrets with you, out of desperation more than anything if you need to. And the good thing with tow turrets and ordinary turrets is they don't take up a pip supply, so you can deploy them even with men on the field. So say for example, I'll wait for this to shoot, I'll see where it lands, then I'll deploy a tow turret and the tow turret will shoot. Yep, unfortunately it hit an obstacle, but that's just how it is. It'll shoot again in a second and it might take out the howitzer. There you go. So there you go, 2 or 3 different ways to destroy howitzer missions.